Welcome to Coffee Break with Rachel Vigil, taking a daily look at the biggest stories in Denver sports and interacting live with you, the Coffee Break fam. So sit back, relax, grab a cup of joe, and enjoy your coffee break. Here's your host, Rachel Vigil.
Happy Tuesday. What was once a gold standard where every single player, if you got an offer from the Denver Broncos, you were really considering that move, a gold standards organization. And now we're hearing reports that Sam Darnold chooses the Vikings over the Broncos, etc. So is this rock bottom for the Denver Broncos? To have this discussion with me today and talk about some of the new names headed to the orange and blue, we bring in Will Peterson. Hello, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing well, Rachel. How are you?
I'm good. Is this rock bottom, Will? It's been obviously a tough couple of years, but now with everything that's happened in the Russell Wilson drama, they're moving on from Justin Simmons. The rebuild is really happening. Is this rock bottom?
I hope it's rock bottom. If it's not rock bottom, I'm not sure how much lower we can get. That's the craziest part to me. It's you always think in life, oh, I know when I've reached rock bottom. And then maybe it gets somehow a little worse. And if you're a Broncos fan, you're like, this has to be rock bottom, right? Well, Rachel, what if they don't take a first-round quarterback and go 2-15 next year? Then that's going to be rock bottom. So it can always get worse before it gets better, which is the unfortunate reality in sports. And I embrace that they're finally rebuilding. I think it's exciting. But, yeah, with the way Broncos fans have been beat up, no playoffs in 8 years, losing record 7 straight years, let's hope that the first 24 hours of free agency, we're getting kicker and fullback news. Let's hope that's rock bottom. We got a safety, we got a defensive tackle, so I can't, be all cynical. But when the biggest drama of day one was Will Lutz staying or going, that sort of tells you where this organization is at.
Also, I was dying at the news yesterday when it came to Will Lutz. I'm like, okay, they're moving on. And then all of a sudden, he's staying with the Denver Broncos. It's like, what did Sean Payton say to him to be like, maybe I'll stick it out in the orange and blue?
Well, I think Sean told him, I gave you a job in New Orleans. And then once you got cut in New Orleans, I gave you a job in Denver. So Loyalty's got to be a little bit of a two-way street here. No, I think Sean probably gave him the pep talk of, Will, I've helped you out multiple times. You're an NFL kicker because of me. And I've got a lot of headaches to solve this offseason. The last thing I need to do is do another revolving door at kicker. We'll give you a second year. Please come back to Denver. And I think Will probably, took that to heart and said, yeah, maybe I wouldn't have my NFL career without Sean Payton. I will do him a solid and come back to the Broncos.
Is that a pep talk or is that a little bit of bullying right in there? I think it can be a little mixed matched there for sure. Well, we also know that another Saints player is coming over. Malcolm Roach is coming. I'm curious your thoughts on this addition to the orange and blue.
Yeah, this one just happened in the last hour or so. And, here's the thing. Malcolm Roach isn't a household name. I know as much about Malcolm Roach as you do. He started 5 games in 4 years in his NFL career, and he has 1 sack in 4 years. So on the surface, it's like he starts a game a year and he's got 1 sack in 4 years. I'm 6'5", 200 pounds. I could probably get a sack in the NFL if you put me out there for 4 years. I'd fall over onto a quarterback. That being said, again, I promise I'm not trying to be too cynical. Andrew Mason is reporting that he's one of the best run defenders in the NFL. And if you look at Pro Football Focus's metrics last year and the amount of times he had an impact on the play and you do some math and this and that, that maybe he's the best run stopper in the NFL. That's the other extreme of this because I go, well, if he was the best run stopper in the NFL, he would have started more than, 5 games in 4 years. And he also would have more than 1 sack in 4 years because I understand run stopping isn't pass stopping. But if you're good at plugging holes and you're good at creating chaos on the D-line, you're going to get the QB every once in a while, just like you're going to get a running back. So I have questions in the sense that I obviously trust Mace's research, but if this guy was this valuable, he wouldn't be going for 2 years, $8 million and not a starter for the Saints. So that's where it's like, I'll believe it when I see it. And also what I'll really believe it when I see it is if they cut DJ Jones later today, because that shows you they're big believers in Malcolm Roach. So whether or not DJ Jones is still on this roster once the new league year starts tomorrow, that's the thing. It feels like the new league year has started. It technically has not started yet. They still have some time on DJ Jones and still have some time on Garrett Bowles. Those are the 2 big names in terms of a restructure, an extension, a cut, whatever. Could still get some news on those guys in the next 24 hours. But if you really trust Roach, then you'll cut DJ Jones.
Which would be fascinating. right? I think that move would be really interesting. But again, I've talked about it time and time again. It's Saints 2.0, Saints 2.0. Like Sean Payton is going to get the guys that he obviously liked when he was down there in New Orleans. So it wouldn't surprise me too much. But also this team does need a little bit of depth, right? Like I don't think Sean Payton is going into the season being like, we need to win 3. I think he's like, hey, I can assemble a roster that can hopefully be, make it into the playoffs, go for a wild card spot. I don't think Sean Payton's looking at this saying, this is a rebuild 100% in a sense. Like, I think he does understand the greater, good for all of it, but I think he still has goals of making the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Sean Payton signed up for a rebuild. I don't think, you or I assumed he left the Fox TV set to be like, oh, I'm going to go 8-9 with Russell Wilson, cut him, take on $85 million, and you've got something for me?
I do. Okay. Breaking news. Drew Lock going to the New York Giants. I had not seen that. So
another quarterback off the board. Yeah, another veteran QB off the board. That's like the 6th one now. You got Minshew going to the Raiders. You got Brissett going to the Patriots. You got Darnold going to the Vikings. You got Winston going to the Browns. We're starting to run out of options for the Broncos if they want to bring in another vet. And those people who wanted a Drew Lock reunion got bad news for you. We're just finding out in the last couple of moments that is not going to happen.
Were you on board for a Drew Lock? Because I'm not going to lie, I was starting just with all the names that were slowly dwindling. I was like, maybe Drew Lock couldn't be too bad. Were you on board?
No.
But who else? You want Tannehill? Oh, yay. Love that. Mariota? Love that. We're running out of options.
Did you read my column at denversports.com this morning?
I have not, but I know that it has pissed a few people off.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I'm getting a lot of, actually most of my columns do, but I'm getting a lot of people agreeing with me on this one. And the premise is, Rachel.
Oh, I love it.
No news is good news. I don't want them to sign any bridge quarterback. You already have one. You're already paying Jarrett Stidham.
So you're moving up for JJ. Are you moving up?
Yes, you have to take your round 1 rookie QB. Sure, move up. Get him. Get Drake May. But adding another body and creating a logjam. Let's say they added Drew Lock, right? We know they're not going to, but let's hypothetically. Why are you adding Drew Lock to Jarrett Stidham when they're the same freaking guy, and now you're just going to create another body for your first-round draft pick to eventually jump? My whole premise is that no news is good news. You're already paying Jarrett Stidham $6 million. You don't need a second Jarrett Stidham for another $6 million. That's just lighting money on fire. It's delaying the inevitable. You're drafting a round 1 quarterback, and in a perfect world, ready or not, that round 1 quarterback is your starter in week 1, and Jarrett Stidham's your backup.
Okay, so that was my whole thing with Russell Wilson is I was like, you're going to pay him regardless. Why go out and try and find another bridge QB when you've already got one that you can just use? Obviously, they don't do that. So you're saying roll with Jarrett Stidham, have J.J. McCarthy go out there week 1, even though he may not be ready, and see what can happen?
Trial by fire. You're not going to learn the Sean Payton offense by holding a clipboard. You're just not. You have to go get out there and play. And guess what? In a perfect world, it's C.J. Stroud. In a terrible world, it's Bryce Young. But it'll probably be somewhere in the middle. You're probably not going to make the playoffs, and you're probably not going to be the worst team in the NFL. But at least he gets a season under his belt, and you and I can sit here in 2025 and go, hey, maybe there is starting to be a little hope because it's year 2 of J.J. McCarthy. I got in this debate with Andrew Mason last night on Denver Sports Tonight on 104.3 The Fan. If they're not ready, then we're just kicking the can down the road till relevancy. Oh, we're going to make him sit for a year, and then he's going to suck in 2025, and maybe 2026 is the year. I don't care. We have tried veteran Band-Aid after veteran Band-Aid after veteran Band-Aid. We tried Joe Flacco. We tried Case Keenum. We tried Teddy Bridgewater. We tried Russell Wilson. None of them work. I am sick of veteran Band-Aids. With every QB that gets off the board that is not going to the Broncos, I'm pumping my fist, Rachel. Let's go. I want there to be 3 QBs at camp. Jarrett Stidham, Ben DiNucci, and a round 1 rookie. I don't need any of these journeymen. I don't need Jimmy G there, okay? I don't need Ryan Tannehill there. That's a waste of a body and a waste of money.
I love a fired up Will Peterson. I love to see it. I mean, it makes sense. If you're going to go with the rookie QB, just actually start him. But it also seems like everybody, I know up until the combine, everyone was like, oh, J.J. McCarthy, it's going to be rough. He does a good combine. And everyone's like, he's going to go in the top 5 or top 10, whatever it's going to be. I want to know how patient Broncos country will be if the Broncos do land J.J. McCarthy. how patient will they be for season number 1? If we come out and they start 0-4, 0-5, like how patient will Bronco country be?
Extremely patient.
You think so?
We will embrace this guy to at least the middle of his second season. There's no rational Broncos fan that thinks J.J. McCarthy comes in and he only gets 6 games to prove himself. No, he gets an entire first season and he gets half his second season. And by that point, we'll have needed to start seeing some progress. But the other thing I find interesting is you're hyper-focused on McCarthy. I'm not saying it has to be McCarthy. I'm just saying it has to be a rookie
realistic one.
Well, it could be Drake May. He's falling. Could be Michael Penix Jr. His medicals came back okay. It could be Bo Nix. Like, I actually think the possibilities are more open than ever. I just don't want it to be Ryan Tannehill or Jimmy Garoppolo. I want it to be one of those 4 guys I just mentioned.
First of all, we're talking Penix. Penix is like way late first round. So if they're waiting that far, that gives me a little bit of anxiety right there. Bo Nix, I'm not like for or against. I feel like I'm kind of neutral when it comes to Bo Nix. JJ McCarthy, I feel like you're going to have to move up. So what are you giving to move up? And same with Drake May. I think that you're having to move up. I still think he's in the top 10. So the idea of trading up to get something, I'm like, that just gives me a little bit of anxiety knowing how much they've given up in previous years with obviously Russell Wilson and Sean Payton.
But you just said you're getting anxiety for waiting for Penix too. So you're just a ball of anxiety about this quarterback.
I just need one of them to land at number 12, please.
But yeah, I see what you're saying. The problem is 12 is now becoming this weird middle ground, right? Yeah. Like, I don't think you're getting the guy
it's like
you
not
want.
Good enough, but it's too good for the other QBs. Like, there's no one actually in that number 12 range.
So say McCarthy and Drake May go top 10, okay? Along, of course, with Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels. Yep. So those 4 are off the board in the top 10. Well, then I think you trade back to the mid-20s. You get a second and a third, and then you wait for Penix or Nix to fall to you. And if it becomes clear that Penix or Nix is going to go at 19 and you got to get back up, guess what? There's no rule you can't do that. You can zigzag all over that draft board on draft night. They just can't be asleep at the wheel and make sure that one of those guys is in their camp come the end of Thursday night, April 25th.
It also feels very obvious that Sean Payton knows exactly who he wants, whether it be J.J. McCarthy, maybe it is Penix, Bo Nix, whoever it is. It feels like he is locked in on whoever it is, and that's why we haven't heard the Broncos' names being in like a ton of quarterback rumors besides Sam Darnold.
Which is great. That's how it should be, because John Elway got burned by Paxton Lynch in 2016. Yep. And what did he do? He didn't take Josh Allen in 2018. He took Bradley Chubb.
Yeah.
And then he went veteran Band-Aid, veteran Band-Aid. I gave you all the names. I think Sean Payton was not here, but that doesn't mean Sean Payton wasn't observing. And that doesn't mean Sean Payton doesn't know that John Elway tried again and again and again to just sort of reboot it and not rebuild it. And what did that get the Broncos? 7 straight losing seasons. Mm-hmm. Deep in his heart of hearts, Sean Payton is probably exploring some of these options. But I don't think Sean Payton's head hit the pillow last night unbelievably ticked off that he didn't get Sam Darnold. I don't. I think he wants a rookie round 1 QB too. And I think he wants to prove at 60 years old. Yeah, I had Drew Brees forever, right? And people say it was a lot of Drew Brees. Guess what? I can develop a first-round kid too, make the playoffs, and 2, 3, 4 years later win a Super Bowl. Is that greedy? Of course it is. But is Sean Payton's ego just big enough to believe that? Yeah, no doubt.
100%. Okay, so this is all my question essentially to the comments. Which first-round QB would you like to see the Denver Broncos go at? Please answer in the comments. That way Will and I can see how you all are feeling Broncos country. But Will, I'm just curious to your thoughts on the cap room, right? Like, it feels like the Broncos and Sean Payton are continuing to push it down. We saw him do that with the Saints. They now have, I think, like over $45 million on the cap because they're restructuring a lot of guys. We saw it with Ben Powers, etc. Does that worry you at all? I had James Merilatt on yesterday, and he was like, yeah, that worries me. Like, eventually the bill comes due. But at the exact same time, we're seeing movement all the time that, yeah, you can just take $15 million and turn it into a signing bonus or whatever you want it to be. Your thoughts?
James is a worrier. I've said for years.
James Merilatt is a worrier? You're telling me this?
He is. Yeah. I've said for years, Rachel, the salary cap's a myth. Right? Now, maybe that's too strong of a word. Maybe it sort of kind of exists. But what have I also said? I've told you this. I've told James this. I've told Mace this. I've told Jake this. I've told Cecil this. that Sean Payton was a master at manipulating the cap in New Orleans, and he was going to manipulate the cap in Denver.
Yeah.
What have we seen him do? He's manipulating the cap in Denver.
Yep.
Maybe the bill comes due eventually, but you know what? If you can keep kicking it down the road, in 5 years from now, you're going to find some other loophole to kick it another 5 years down the road. I don't think the bill coming due is what Broncos country should worry about when they've had 8 seasons without the playoffs. They need to make the playoffs. So if you need to mess around with that cap for the next couple of years to get back into playoff position, fine by me. That salary cap, it's barely even real.
Okay, so I'm looking at all of the comments, and everybody is saying, JJ for sure, JJ at this point, JJ, but we need to be a top 5. Knicks with a small trade, back for extra picks if possible. I like what Sean Payton can do with JJ. May, so a lot of people are either on McCarthy or they're on Drake May. How long do you give, let's start with JJ McCarthy, to get the Broncos back to the playoffs if he's going to be your franchise QB?
I mean, like I said before, you got to give him at least 2 years. No one can expect.
I don't know if I can be patient enough for 2 years. Well, I get it. It is a rookie QB. I'm 100% there. But it has been so many bad years of Denver Broncos football that, I just feel like Broncos country, if I'm the one who's saying, I can't be patient on this, I can be patient for a year. But a year and a half, it just feels like there better be a better plan going into year 2.
Yeah, but at some point he doesn't have any talent around him. I mean, who are the playmakers on offense on this team right now?
Courtland Sutton going to be with this team? He is.
I mean, his Twitter thing was just insulting to Tim Patrick and Marvin Mims Jr. and Brandon Johnson.
Agreed.
I mean, to tweet the Will Smith gift, like you're the only one left, and you're looking around for all your friends just because they traded Jerry Jeudy, who Jerry Jeudy had to go. That's just insulting to your other teammates who are still here and are actually much more likable guys. I mean, Tim Patrick, Marvin Mims, Brandon Johnson, much more likable guys than Jerry Jeudy ever was.
Agreed.
So why are you just being a dramatic, selfish teammate by doing that? I mean, what are we doing, Courtland? So
he's
I hope
going to
he's
be here.
gone. No, you know what? I hope Sean Payton and George Payton saw it and said, if that's going to be his attitude when we make a move that was long overdue, he's part of the losing culture too, and he should go too. And a lot of people have argued that. Courtland Sutton's been here a long time, and Courtland Sutton hasn't won squat.
Yeah.
So maybe we need to keep that in mind with his future as well.
I think he's going to be here. I think that they were either going to trade Jerry Jeudy or Courtland Sutton. They saw what they could get for Jerry Jeudy. They took it. So I think Courtland Sutton will, in fact, be here week 1. Granted, crazier things have definitely happened, so it wouldn't surprise me, but I do think that he's going to be here. But my hot take is that Timmy P, he's wide receiver number 1 this season. I think he's going to have a good year.
Yeah, if he can stay healthy, I don't disagree with you.
Yeah.
I mean, Tim Patrick was their best wide receiver in 2021, in my opinion. So It just sucks that the cards come out for him 2 years in a row. And, at camp, I'll be watching him. That's just going to be the cold reality of it is, there's certainly a physical aspect he's going to have to get over, but there's going to be a mental aspect too. He's got to make it through that first week of camp feeling good. And I'm really rooting for Tim Patrick because he's a good dude.
I'm curious your thoughts on the Brandon Jones being added, obviously, as the replacement for Justin Simmons. A lot of people, they're like, oh, you really overpaid him, etc. He's not bad. He obviously has come back from injury. He looks pretty good. I'm just curious how you're feeling about the other moves, I guess, the Broncos have made.
I mean, if you really look at the Brandon Jones contract, it's like a 2-year, $13 million deal. So to say they overpaid him, it's like, come on, they were going to pay Justin Simmons,
18 mil for 1 year.
$18 million, and they're getting this cat for $6.5 million. They're getting PJ Locke for $3.5 million. They got Caden Stearns. I mean, you got to spend some money in the NFL. So I don't think anyone thinks that day one safety is going to sign for less than $6 million, which the Broncos got him for. I'm intrigued by Brandon Jones. I am. I mean, he's got a little bit of this Roach cat in him to me. He didn't start a ton of games. He was a rotational guy. So what do the Broncos know about these guys that we don't, right?
Yeah.
That's what I'm eager to find out about Jones and Roach.
No big splashy names. However, there have been plenty of other splashy names going on just the past 2 days. But Derrick Henry to the Ravens. I'm very, very intrigued by this move. This could possibly be, if Derrick Henry stays healthy and can be the Derrick Henry that everybody has raved about for years, that could be the extra push that they need to make it to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it certainly could be. I mean, Lamar was obviously terrible in that AFC title game. So
Yeah.
getting him some help like Derrick Henry would be huge because Lamar was awesome during the regular season. Duh, he was the MVP. But the biggest moment, he didn't show up and he looked a little jittery. And maybe, if the game plan is, hey, hand the ball to Derrick Henry 27 times, Lamar will calm down a little bit. That being said, I don't know what Derrick Henry's got left. I mean, I know he still had his moments last year, but Rachel, you know as well as anyone, when these running backs go, they go. It happens like that. So I don't know. I'm not rooting against Derrick Henry. I don't have any beef with Derrick Henry, but I'm just not sitting here going, oh, yeah, 23-year-old Derrick Henry is going to go tear it up in Baltimore. We'll have to see how much gas he's got left in the tank.
What was the most surprising move that you saw the past 2 days?
Oof, it's a loaded question. I mean, there's a lot of them. But I think the Giants letting Saquon get away and letting him get away to the Eagles of all places, it's like, could they have botched the whole pay Daniel Jones, franchise Saquon, don't franchise Saquon, let him leave? And that was a playoff team 2 years ago that a lot of people thought was on the rise.
Yeah.
That's a number one pick contender for me now. Yeah, Drew Lock, and enjoy New York, enjoy the Giants, dude. So I think that was the biggest one, was just the Giants' mismanagement of Saquon, and then to have to face him twice a year, and the Eagles are reloaded, and they're going to win another 12 or 13 games like they do every year. I just couldn't believe that they mismanaged it, and that he goes to the Eagles of all places.
I think for me it was, and not that he was even like the biggest name that moved. Like Gardner Minshew goes to the Raiders, and it's like I was expecting them to go for maybe a little bit of a flashier name, but then Christian Wilkins obviously getting with Max Crosby, and that, like, they made some moves, but I just figured they were going to make a bigger move for a quarterback. But I guess when everything starts to kind of like simmer down or dimmer down, whatever it is, the word I'm looking for, you kind of run out of options. Thank you. I'm like, which word am I looking for in this talk? But what the Raiders have done has been very interesting. And then Austin Eckler obviously leaving and going to the Commanders was also very interesting to me as well.
Yeah, just a quick thought on the Raiders, though. Wouldn't it be very Raiders to trade for Justin Fields, out of nowhere? It would be. And it would also be very Raiders to just take Michael Penix Jr. at 13. So
what do you think is going to happen with Justin Fields?
I think someone's still going to take a chance on him. I think someone's still going to take a chance on him. I mean, obviously his value is tanked for whatever reason. Heck, the Broncos should take a chance on him. The Broncos should take a chance on Justin Fields, because here's the thing. People will give me flack in the comments and say, you just said you didn't want another bridge quarterback. Well, Justin Fields is a bona fide starter in this league in my eyes. Ryan Tannehill's not. So if it's Ryan Tannehill or Jimmy G, I don't want him. If it's a flyer on Justin Fields, sure, I'll take a flyer on Justin Fields. I don't think he fits with Sean Payton, but it would be very Raiders to end up with Justin Fields or Michael Penix Jr. at 13. I don't think the Raiders are done yet.
I'm kind of in on the Justin Fields talk too. I'm curious. Everybody in the comments, real quick, right before we end the show, let us know if you are in on Justin Fields, because, yeah, I'm very, very interested in that. And I think it's weird that we haven't heard any sort of rumblings when it comes to Justin Fields. Like, his name has been pretty much silent, and usually there's all sorts of stuff going on with that. But, yeah, real quick while we let the people talk about it, let's get into Austin Eckler going to the Commanders. How about everybody going to the Commanders? I feel like they've added so many big names this time. Everybody's buying into Dan Quinn.
Yeah, old friend Brandon McManus ended up there. Marcus Mariota ended up there.
Yeah.
The thing with Eckler is I just got the feeling Harbaugh wants kind of a fresh start of everyone but Herbert. We've heard these rumors of Allen on the trade market and Mike Williams on the trade market. And it's like, man, everyone said Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Austin Eckler, Justin Herbert, that's the best offense in the NFL. And it's like Jim Harbaugh's looking at it going, I don't want much part of it. And I think Austin Eckler kind of saw the writing on the wall and was like, okay, I'll go get $12 million from the Commanders, which is pretty darn good for a running back. Yeah. I think that's surprising. And maybe the Chargers, Harbaugh's got an ego like Payton, but maybe the Chargers are going to take a year or two to get this thing really rolling. And if you're the Broncos, it sucks because you're rebuilding too, but normally you'd have to look at that as an opportunity of, hey, second place in the AFC West is up for grabs, which of course could translate to a wild card spot. Mm-hmm. But maybe the Chiefs go 11-6, and the Broncos, Raiders, and Chargers all go 6-11, and the division only gets one playoff team this year.
All right, people responding to Justin Fields. I will take Justin Fields if it's a 4th-round draft pick, but nothing more. Justin Fields is Russell Wilson Jr. He leaves clean pockets for no reason. 2, Payton wants no part of that. Fields is a better athlete than a quarterback. Rather have JJ than Fields. Fields is a good choice for the Broncos. Out on Fields, wrong type of quarterback. Lots of people just obviously adding in their comments. So it is interesting. I'm not out on Justin Fields, but I also can understand your point too, just of your column today about if you're going to go with a quarterback, just go with the rookie. So it's always an interesting conversation. We will see what happens. But Will Peterson, always a pleasure, my friend.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Rachel. We'll see you soon.
Awesome. All right. Will Peterson right there. You can check out all of his stuff over at denversports.com. I know that entire team is working tirelessly to make sure that Denver Sports is up to date on literally all the latest information for you regarding the Broncos, the Avalanche, the Nuggets, etc. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you subscribe and like. That way you get notifications anytime we go live. I know Andrew Mason and Cecil Lammy are going to be going live at 4 p.m. talking about all the moves that the Broncos make. Will there be any more splashy headlines involving the orange and blue? That will be the question. Thank you guys for hanging out with both Will Peterson and I, and we will be back tomorrow, 10 a.m. for another episode of Denver Sports Daily. Come hang out with us. Have a wonderful Tuesday, everybody. Get back to work. Bye.